Yeah, okay. So my name's Eddie. I'm going to be going through the spine board digitated PXB. So again, we're just going to go through a bit of the theory, how it works in here, and then we're going to go through into the pool afterwards, and we're going to have a practice on it each, okay? So if you look at the picture on the screen, you can see that that is the rescue board, not the PXB. Any ideas why we might use PXB instead of the rescue board? Why it's better?
More stability for the casualty when it's likely to cause damage.
Yeah, so we definitely want the casualty to be more stable. Is that right?
It's easier to use.
Yeah, it's easier to use, definitely.
It requires less people.
Good, so yeah, we quite have people. So you see there's 4 people there. On there you potentially got a 5th person as well, possibly with that one as well. Whereas PXB, the one that we've got over here, you can have 2 people in most situations, and the ones that we're going to train and look at, we just need 2 of you to do that. So you've got various different parts of the board. You've got head blocks that come on and off at the top. You've got different coloured straps as you work your way down the board. And then you've got this mat part of the board as well. And also, if you look at it, you've got a few details such as where it says head here, so that's again a single work the position where you want the person's head to be when you're putting them onto the board. So, board preparation, again, when it's being stored, how it is there will be sort of, apart from it will obviously be in the position on poolside where it's kept, which again, part of your training you should know where that is. The straps, again, just should be kept closed over. You don't want to roll them up or anything where it's going to put pressure on them, because the straps are what are going to wear out on it and make it not work as well as it should. So when you're coming to use it, you're going to undo all of these. So literally just pull them off all the way so they're down on all sides. Leave the head blocks on to start off with. You only want to take them off once you've got it positioned in the pool. Otherwise it's very easy to leave these where you can't reach them, and then you're going to run into difficulties when you want to put them onto the board. And you see someone carrying it over, they've got all the straps undone, but the head blocks there are still on the board. So when we do put someone onto the board, they need to be in a vice. You need to have the person in a vice grip to put them on. That's how you have to do. So if you've done a rescue in the shallow water, what have you going to have done initially for the spinal rescue? Yeah, so you've done the head splint, not the vice grip. So you're going to have to change from one to the other. So again, it's quite simple. So again, the first lifeguard will come in, do the head splint exactly the same as normal. And then the second lifeguard will come in, and when that person is on their back, similar to how when we were just starting off yesterday and we were doing the training on the vice grip, we were doing that. They'll be in that position, so they can then just come in, put their hands on, make sure they've got that grip again, talking to each other, making sure that you're saying, yes, I've got the person, I've got the vice grip on. And then once that's done, the person who did the initial head splint can let go, and then they can lower the arms down to the side, so then that person is ready to go onto the board. So in the next picture, it just shows you a couple of ways how you can position your hands on when you're putting that vice grip on. The picture has been taken out of the water just so you can see it. In reality, that person wouldn't be upright as they are, they'd be flat on the water. So again, you can go over or under. The person that's done the head splint. It's just about making sure you've got that good vice grip on. Again, exactly the same, you've got that on the chin, straight down the front, on the crown of the head, and got those elbows squeezing together, preventing any of that movement between the head, the neck, and the spine. So for this, and for the assessment, we're going to look at the depth level, where the water is the same level as the side of the pool. And again, for the assessment, we're going to do it as a responsive, conscious casualty. So it's all about taking your time, making sure that you don't rush it anything wrong. If it was an unconscious casualty, there is a method that will get them out a lot quicker. That, again, the non-breathing unconscious casualty you would need to use, which we will go over a little bit later. I'll show you the video now, but I don't want to confuse you before you go in the pool and have a practice. And then you can use the board also on non-freeboard areas in deep water and things like that, which we will also have a look at a little bit later. So to start off with, we just have a look at the video, watch it through, see how it's done. Then we'll watch it again, I'll talk you through it, and then we'll go through each bit step by step. So a couple of things to point out before we go through watching it and I'll talk you through it. You can see, again, you couldn't hear it, but you can see them talking to each other. You can also see the casualty talking to, showing that the casualty is responsive. They are able to communicate with you. They might be able to sort of be giving you sort of some of the signs, symptoms, history of what's happened as well. If they any more information whilst you're doing that, if they've got any sort of pains anywhere they can't feel, or numbness, which again will be linked to the spinal injury. Again, really key, talking to each other, communicating with this. That's what the assessor will be looking for, that's what you need to do. There's a lot of communication with this bit. And also the video does start off once that person's already in the vice grip, so you've not got the turnover. So we'll just watch it through one more time and then I'll talk you through what's happening each bit. So they're going to slide the board into position, click it into place, and the board's going to take the blocks off, the board's going to get pushed down. The lifeguard's going to bring the person on. Again, you need to communicate here, making sure that casualty is lined up with the board. They need to be on nice and centrally, nice and high up onto where the head blocks are going to go. Board is allowed to raise up. The lifeguard in the water keeps that top arm, puts that bottom arm underneath. Keep that vice grip, so the vice grip is between them and the board. That then enables the lifeguard on the side to take the head. So you're always keeping that head nice and still. At that point, we're going to go with the straps with the lifeguards in the water. So first one, green strap, always goes on first. Then the blue strap. So the first of these can be really tight, pull them over nice and tight. The vice grip goes back on, and before the other lifeguard can let go, they communicate, say, yes, I've got them. The head blocks go on again at the same time, nice and securely down into the shoulders against the head. The headband goes across the blocks again. It ideally sits upon the forehead, but if it's slightly above, that's fine. It's just to keep it blocked in place. Once that's on, lifeguards can hold the board, and then the other lifeguards can work their way down from that stage. So that's always the order: green, blue, head blocks, and then just working down, making sure again they're all nice and tight. Once they're all done, the lifeguard will secure the bottom of the board that's in the water, That enables the lifeguard on the side to stand up. Just lift very slightly the board out, again keeping nice horizontal position, and slide onto the pool side where you can then start your checks. So if you notice, when you lifted casualties out doing the manual lift out yesterday, how were they positioned once you lifted them out onto the pool side? Yeah, so they were on their front, so you got to spin them round, roll them over. In this, they're already on their back, you can go straight in, straight to checking the breathing, straight to anything, CPR, fitness. Again, with the breathing, on this one, you don't do the full tilt the head all the way back, because that's when you're going to eventually get the additional injury with the spine. You still do the 2 fingers on the chin lift, but not the full head tilt back. So again, they need to be fully stable, central on the board before you lift them out. Each time you're keeping the head nice and still, keeping the board nice and still, make sure that other person has then retaken control, communicate with you to say I've got the board before you then move on to the next section. So the way we look at it is slide, set, sink. So on the board, on the back of it, there are these runners. You're going to slide them in, you're going to hold onto the mat, slide it into the pool. And once it's in, you're going to pull it gently back, and these little bits here will just sit against the side of the pool. You can then kneel on the mat itself. That's going to prevent the board from moving away from the edge, keep it nice and stable. And that's when you can then lean onto it, sink it down again. These are designed to float, so it will take quite a lot of effort. You're going to have to get your hand reasonably low down to push down onto it, and use quite a bit of force to get it down into the water. So again, with this bit we're just going to go through it step by step. It's really important these are in the correct order. The session will be looking for all of these done correctly. And again, take your time with this, talk to each other with this one, that's really important. So again, we've put the board in, we've sunk it down. Already really key communication. The lifeguard holding the board can see if the casualty is lined up. The person bringing the casualty on can't see the line, so he needs to left a bit, right a bit, that way a bit, this way a bit. Make sure they are coming onto that board nice and centrally. So you can bring them up onto the board. Then the first thing that happens, once they're on the board, the boards come up, and then the lifeguard that is doing the vice grip brings their hand that was underneath them onto the board, so that vice grip is now maintained between the casualty and the board as well, not just you onto the casualty. If you do bring the casualty on and you realise they're completely off the board, they're not lined up, something's gone wrong, you don't, again, want that movement in the spine, you don't want to be adjusting them round, so again, just keep that vice grip on, take them off, and then try again. That, then it can happen, it won't be a failure if you keep that vice grip on, bring them off, and bring them back. And what we don't want to do is doing letting go and letting the casualty not have that support. If they are very slightly, the legs are very slightly off, so maybe they're slightly over here rather than dead central. Once you've got these two and the head blocks on, you can do small adjustments to the legs. But again, if they're hanging right over the side, take them off and do it again. Again, you can take your time with this. They're a responsive casualty. It's better to do it slower, take time and get it right, than to rush and do it faster and do it wrong. So just going through the pitch again. So you see that hand comes off, goes underneath. Then you can see them gripping around the edge of the board. That keeps the casualty nice and secure on the board. There can be no movement. Then the lifeguard that was holding the board can now take the head. Again, they take the head before the other lifeguard lets go, communicate, say, I've got the head secure. At that stage, the lifeguard that brought the casualty on can then release that vice grip. And what colour strap did we say was first? Green, good. So green, nice and tight, really pull the bottom one all the way across, then place the other one over it. What one was next?
Blue.
Blue, good. So green, blue, and then once they're done, that vice grip goes back on. See, they're both holding the head again. Both grips got to secure it with the vice grip before the lifeguard on the side can let go and release that head. Then at that stage, that's when the head blocks are going to come in. So again, at the same time, bring them down together into the shoulders. Make sure with these, you get them the right way round. So they've got the Velcro on one side, no Velcro on the other side. That's the side you want to be pushing down, in, up to the shoulders and into the head. Together, not that way round, then you have to peel it off and put it back on, there's more chance of movement. So just down together, I'll say it like that. Then placing the head strap across, ideally across the forehead, but again if it's slightly higher up, depending on the size of the casualty, it might not be able to quite do that, but it's just going to prevent those blocks from moving as well. So then once that's done, they can hold onto the board. Again, don't hold it right and hold it a bit further down, keep it nice and stable. So the casualty, the head, neck aren't going to move at all, now they're secured in place, so you don't need to hold onto the head itself anymore, just onto the board. Then the lifeguard in the water can release the vice grip and can work down the casualty. Again, it doesn't matter what order, with the yellow and black, just providing you work down. Don't do the red one first, do just work down from there. Secure all of those straps, nice and tight. Then they will move round to the end of the board, secure the end of the board before the lifeguard that's on the side can move. Once they've again communicated saying, I've got the board secure, it's not going to move round, lifeguard can then stand up and you're going to lift using the mat itself. So the mat has got two handles on it like this. You're just going to pull that up and pull with the handles. You've only got to move it up that far. So see the side of the rail there? That's how high you need to move, then you can just slide it at that stage onto the pool side. It's not going to be lifting up to a big angle then. You want to keep that horizontal position. There you go, just lift in with the mat, and then you can just slide them out onto the pool side, just like that. If you've not got a big area like they had on the video, so like the leisure pool here, you've got a small area, you can slide out and then turn them sideways, turn them to the side, slide onto the pool. That's fine, because that's not going to twist them and move the spine like it does when we twist them around with the manual lift, because they're fixed to the board now, so they're not going to move, it's just going to be the board sliding around. So if there's not the room, then you'll have to do that. For the assessment, we have got the room, just slide them out, that's fine. But for that, if there isn't a room, you can just do that. Okay? Any questions about placing them onto the board before we go on? No? Okay, so if they are, again, going to be sick, you perform CPR, all those things can be done with them staying on the board. We don't need to take them off the board for any of those. So, checking the breathing, again, we just do the chin lift, 2 fingers on the chin. We don't tilt the whole head back, because that's when there's going to be more chance of injury. If they're going to be sick, if you have done the straps up correctly and you just tip the board up, they shouldn't move anyway, if you tip it onto the side. However, just to be secure, what have we put on there again? Yeah, so the vice grip goes back on, again, nice and tender, just it's that extra security, tipping the casualty over. Again, you can have you'll need assistance with this, the board and the casualty combined, so it's quite heavy, so just lifting that up. They can go on either side of the board, that's fine when you're doing that, but then vice grip on, and then exactly the same, just clear them out, lower them back down. What would you do once you've done that if they had been sick? Check the breathing again, yeah, so we always check the breathing after they've done that. And then again, CPR, you can do that whilst they're on the board as well. Okay, now we're not going to go through the next bit in detail yet, because I don't want to confuse you before we go into the water. But I'm just going to show you how quick you can get someone out of the water. So, do you think it's quicker to do a manual lift out or to use the board?
A board.
The board. Okay, let's have a look and see if we're right. Yeah, so see, even before the lifeguard is out the water, the lifeguard that was on the side can be checking casualty, checking the breathing. Again, there's not quite as much stabilisation of the spine and the head because saving the life is the priority, getting them out the water, dealing with them, but there's a lot less than there is if you do a manual lift out. They are still secured on the board, there's very little movement with that, and that is going to be quicker because, again, they're straight onto their back. There's no movement at all around that. You're not going to roll them over or anything like that. You can go straight into everything you need to do with that. And we will go through that a bit more in detail later. I just don't want to confuse you with different ones before we've had a go doing the first depth level one in the pool. Then last little bit, so again, you can keep them on the spine board, anything you need to do with that you can stand there. The only time they'll come off is when the paramedics come and they come to take them away, and they have their own board which basically splits into two, so they can slot that into either side of the casualty, and then they can take them away secured again, so that's still minimising that movement. So you want to minimise the movement of the board once they're out. Again, if there was some emergency where there was sort of a threat to their life, where the position they were in, you could move them, but you wouldn't. That would be a last resort. You don't want to be moving them around much. Because again, most of the injuries with spinal injuries, the permanent damage occurs after the initial injury, so you're reducing that sort of the movement between the neck, the head, the back, and reducing that chance of injury. Okay, so we're going to go through and have a go with the board. We'll have a go in all the positions each, so you can have a practice in the pool. Anyone got any questions before we do that about it? No? Brilliant, okay. So let's get ready then. So we'll go through to the pool now.